Hey guys, Spark Warrior back here again. We're here with one of our local topping people. We are with
Michael.
All right, Michael, what you running? Give us the rundown.
Running Sky Striker.
Alrighty.
So,
And real quick, any shout outs you want to give?
I'd like to shout out Cole for scooping game 2, as always.
Awesome. All right, let's get into this Sky Striker.
So, start off with 3 Ray. Ray is Bay. Like, if you don't see Ray, you just kind of lose. Because of that, I play 3 rows. Most people say 2. I like 3 for a reason. Get that trash out of here. But I run 44, which is kind of unconventional, but you know, it's working. So,
Hey,
you know,
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
amen. I am experimenting with 40, but I'm still running 3 rows, and it actually is working really well. Because again, if you don't see one of these 2 or another way to them, which we'll get to in a second, you just kind of lose. Because as far as engine goes, that's it for your monsters. Rhoda, Ray and Rose are both warriors, so just search. You know, it's basically another Ray.
Always good to have the searches.
You know, engage, best card in the deck. You know, when you get 3 spells, you just draw a card, and then you can get to Ray, you can get to anything you need in the deck. Drones, summon your token, it's another Ray. You know, again, most important thing in the deck. The 1 roll. This is good for your grind. You're not going to kill opponents quickly with this deck, so you're just going to have to outplay them in card advantage, and this helps you get stuff back out of the graveyard. I normally don't search it till about turn 2 or 3, but it is nice to have, and if you open it, it's really, really nice to have. 1 Afterburner. I've been running 2, and I cut it to 1 because I just hadn't needed it. The format's kind of changed, and with Raigeki coming to 3, it really helped with this because I play this deck as a go second deck. It is hard go second. You'll see some of my stuff for going first in the side in a minute. 2 Eagle Booster. Most people don't play this at all. This is so good to stop a hand trap because, you know, if they're gonna like try to stop your Kagari from grabbing back an engage or something, and you just booster, they just wasted Ash Blossom and, yeah, or not Ash Blossom, probably Imperm or something. And it comes in clutch way too much, and it's really good to back up an access code talker, because if you don't kill someone with an access code talker, you're really, really weak in this deck. So it's always nice to have that as a backup plan if they manage to survive lethal.
You need to run 1
2 Shark Cannons. Shark Cannons is really, really nice for being able to bring monsters back. Right now with Scythe and DPE running around, just banish them. It's basically just DD Crow, and then you can summon it if you need to. I have Scythe blocked people with their own Scythe before. It was really funny.
That's
they got
hilarious.
really mad. You're welcome. 2 Area 0. This is again kind of a pseudo way to Ray if you pop it with like a multi-roll or something. But it also can just excavate for a striker card, and card advantage is really useful. And if you combo it with Ray, you can Area 0 chain Ray's effect. She tributes for cost, and it doesn't actually have to send the card to get the effect, which is really, really convenient. So you can just get a free card. Granted, that's not always optimal because that plays into a lot of things, but it is a nice way to extend. And then 3 Widow Anchor. I mean, it's effect negation. It can take things off your opponent's field. It's one of the best cards in the deck. Probably the best search off of Engage. And that's it for the actual Striker Engine cards. After that, we have the DPE package. The bricks. You never want to see them ever.
Nope.
They're terrible Yu-Gi-Oh cards to see in your hand. They're amazing Yu-Gi-Oh cards to send off of the Fusion Destiny. You never really want to send this off Anaconda. You want to see this in your hand because you don't want to have to take up your extra monster zone in Striker with an Anaconda because that is way suboptimal.
Right.
So you really want to see this in hand. The fact they put this to 2 is not great for Striker DP, but it's too good of a payoff to not play it. Every time I make Anaconda, I kind of feel bad. So I'm thinking about cutting it and replacing it with a Dark now that Dark is out. But I don't know. We'll see.
Anaconda's that last resort kind of thing.
It's really a hard last resort. One Upstart Goblin. Again, for most of your secondary Striker effects, you gotta have 3 spells engraved.
I'm gonna build.
It is a free spell. You do have instances where you don't want to use it because, hilariously, because of the 1,000 life points that most people say is irrelevant. This deck has a hard time getting lethal on board. So sometimes that 1,000 life points actually matters.
Sometimes backfires.
And the real thing about this card is it's a very easy side out.
This was his spell. He didn't want this.
But it's also a free spell, free card. The all-star of the deck, 3 Raigeki.
Because Konami said back to 3.
Let's say, and this one looks weird,
Ooh,
but it's legit.
The magic one.
I say we had it checked out. It is legit. But I played Sword Soul, and I saw it all 3 games. Granted, game 2 it didn't help me because he decided to make me go first. But
When you saw it going second, put in the work.
it was an absolute blowout card. Won me the games. That or Nibiru. Then 2 Cosmics because again, Scythe exists.
Yep.
I don't know how Konami missed that one, but at least they hit Imperial Order.
Yeah.
It was okay. Yeah, it did its job. 2 Forbidden Chalice. May cut these last 4 here to cut it down to 40. But this has been really good for Flunderies specifically because this deck has a horrible Flunder matchup. Hilariously, it doesn't play. If you see the negates, you win the game. If you don't, you lose the game. It's that simple.
Yep.
And then triple attack. It's good and at the same time it's terrible. Sometimes it's just a hard brick.
Oh no.
It depends.
But when it resolves, a free card, 2 free cards is
Always.
absolutely insane.
Always good.
And then sometimes stealing a monster gets you to lethal. So, like I said, might cut these, might not. Hadn't really made up my mind yet.
All depends on the situations.
And then hand traps. 2 Ash Blossoms. There are 2 Ash Blossoms because I'm in college and Ash Blossoms are $30 a piece, and I can't afford more than 2.
Money, the name of Yu-Gi-Oh, the true game.
So that's why there's 2 Ash Blossoms instead of 3. I happen to get 2 out of a Dual Devastator. 2 Ghost Bell. At one point these were DD Crows. Bell just seems to hit more right now. I tend to float back and forth between Bell and Crow, just depending on what's floating around right now. Crow was really good in the PK matchup when they were still on Burning Abyss, like Graph and all, and you would just Crow the Graph. Now that they're off of that, this is probably the better card, but they have their ups and downs. 3 Nibiru. This card puts in work. With Sword Soul and PK running around, this card is an absolute lifesaver.
Yep.
Can be a little bricky and can shut off your striker spells if you're not careful. But Zeke makes that really significantly less of a problem. Assuming you see Ray, which is always questionable. And then the last is Infinite Impermanence. Everybody should have these at this point. If you don't, go buy 3 Cyber Strike structure decks. This is an amazing hand trap.
Oh yeah.
And that's it for the main deck.
Sending kit.
So we'll go to the extra deck. One Zeke. If I had a 16th slot in the extra deck, it would be an extra Zeke or a Dark. I'm not sure which. Probably an extra Zeke. This comes in handy so often that there's a lot of times I see myself really wishing I had a second one. But as it is, extra deck's too tight. So one Zeke it is. One kinda is kind of one of those. She's really good in the instances where she comes up. Her ability to stop people from attacking is one of the most useful things that people never talk about. Because everybody thinks, oh, kinda for time. No, kinda to keep you from ending in time in the first place, because you get to blank somebody's attack, and oftentimes that just keeps you alive.
Will non-target damage.
And if you get back to engage, then you can just take over the game from there. 2 Hayate.
You did the same thing.
You don't necessarily need 3. Because the extra deck gets kind of tight. So, again, if you had more slots in the extra deck, there's probably 17. Let's say behind probably Zeke and Dark.
Yep.
And then 3 Kagari. Obviously, one of the best monsters in the extra deck. Probably the best. Go add back your engage. Get 2 engages on the first turn you get it. What a lot of people will do is they will send the engage off the Hayate. Don't do that. Just go Kagari, grab back whatever you would have searched off the engage, off the Hayate, and then grab it back off the Kagari. Don't waste the engage. Just go on ahead and add it back with the Shizuku. It's a stronger play. And it's far less weak to interruptions. And then the as aforementioned Shizuku. Just getting to add free striker spells to hand at the end of every turn is crazy. Especially if you got multi-roll in the field, you can just activate it, set it.
Just keep recycling.
Add anchor, activate it, target the Suzuki, set it off multi-roll. That's just a free anchor you get. And then that's it for the strikers in the extra deck. Then we have Ningirsu. He's probably the second closest one to getting cut. But as long as Dragoon exists in the format, you can't really cut him, because this deck doesn't have a really good out for Dragoon. The only other out it has is a really wacky play with Rose, and that's just too inconsistent to be a consistent out. And I like to have an easy access out in the extra deck.
Right.
So, this is a non-target send. You can send itself, or you can send something else, and it also facilitates access code talker. Because you just need, if you've got this and area 0 on the field, you send the area 0 and whatever on their field, and then you summon an array off the area 0 and go into an access code. Unicorn. This was a Phoenix until they banned Imperial Order, so I could cut the Phoenix. Thank God. The Phoenix is just, it was a necessary evil, but this is so much better for an access code line. It's a link 3, it's easy to make, you can make it off of an opponent's monster very easily, and it's just really nice to make access code way easier than it was when you only had Ningirsu to get to a 5300 access code. Then Anaconda and DP. Anaconda never feels good. It always feels like you're wasting resources, and whenever you have to make it up top, it just doesn't feel very good to have.
Yeah.
Because you lose your striker recursion, your Ray can't come back. And just if they stop this, you just pay 2,000 life points and left yourself very, very, very weak.
Yeah, it's the very, very last resort kind of thing.
DPU, on the other hand, is absolutely busted.
Oh yeah, DP's great.
I don't know why they thought this card was okay to print. Not as busted as Dragoon, in my opinion.
To be honest, yes.
But in this deck specifically, or well, on paper at least, but in this deck specifically, because it will clear itself out of the monster zone, it's 10 times better than Dragoon in this deck. It'll clear itself out, and then you can continue to use your striker interruptions. And then last card, access code talker.
Because big boy.
It's really nice to have it. If you're looking to build this, I would not say that you have to have access code talker. I happened to pull this. I got lucky. I played Boil Sword in this for a while. Boil Sword was harder to make, but at the end of the day, it accomplished the same goal. You can still grind your opponent out. This just helps you end the games a little bit faster. If you don't have access code talker, you probably want to play Hurt Base. I haven't been playing Hurt Base recently. It floats in and out. But he's really good for ending games. The only problem is if you get him on the field, you really need to end the game then.
Yep.
Or you need to back yourself up with an Eagle Booster to make sure you can end the game on the following turn. Because Eagle Booster, assuming you got spell count, he can't be destroyed by battle or card effect, and just straight up unaffected by card effect, is plenty strong to keep him alive for one turn, and then you can, if you can't kill somebody with an access code talker at 53 twice in a row, then, well, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. But that's it.
You got it.
Alrighty.
I think it's all horrible. It's
Well,
just,
was there a siding deck or?
Oh, side deck. I almost completely forgot. So, side deck. Panker Tops.
Hanky Panky.
Side this in going second. I don't side it in a whole lot, actually. But it is nice in this deck because it'll clear itself off the field. It's basically just a pop.
Right.
The card could basically just read pop a card on the field. Yeah. So, Jamming Ways. This is one of your striker spells. It's not particularly strong right now, but if you run up against a back row deck, it's really nice to have. And if you run up against a deck that has a monster that can't be targeted, a la Cosmo Dart Destroyer, this becomes really nice because it non-targeting destroys a monster if you've got spell count. So there are times where this is actually really important to have in your deck, which is why it's in the side deck. 3 Solemn Judgment. This is for going first. This deck does not like to go first at all. So Judgment is really nice to have as just a backup plan. It's also very good. Ooh, excuse me. It's very good in the Flunderies matchup because it negates the summons. Our local Flunder player over here. Yeah. And like I said, this deck really struggled with the Flunder matchup. 2 Droll. This was in the main deck last format because Bird Up was a menace. Now it's it's okay. It may end up getting cut at some point, but it has its uses. Against Flunder, it can lock down a Flunder deck because they have to get the search off to resolve. All of the normal summoning keep going. It's okay against Sword Soul. It's not really optimal.
It just doesn't come up as much as anymore.
Yeah, so I mean, it stays inside because against the decks that it is important, it is an absolute blowout. But it's not the greatest thing in the world because it can lock your engage down a little bit. So, but it's okay. 2 Effect Veiler. These are in here basically because the deck doesn't like Flunderies. So a couple of extra effect negators, makes all the difference in the world.
Oh, yeah.
That was actually the top cut match. And it came in clutch. Like I saw both of them in one game.
Dang.
And at different points because it's always a long grindy match between these 2 decks. So I think that's what that's for. D-Barrier.
Because D-Barrier.
D-Barrier is amazing in this format. It's that simple. Sword Soul, just call Synchro. Any of these other combo decks that are starting to come up, these Synchro good stuff decks, call Synchro. PK, call Xyz. Any deck at all, call Fusion to stop DPE. Just really strong. Side this in way more than you would think. And then the last card is Lancia. This card does really, really good. It hits Sword Soul. It hits Flunderies really hard. It hits kind of hits IDS a little bit. It hits Tri Brigade. It hits PK. I mean, it hits basically everything. Great hand trap to have.
Yep.
And that's about it. I'd say I'd show you some combos, but there's not really. Striker's really more of a reactive deck. Other than the interaction with Ray and Area Zero, and the interaction between multi-roll, if I can find it, and Shizuku's in-phase effect. There's not really a whole lot of combos necessarily. A lot of it's just kind of like figuring it out on the fly and
keeping that tempo.
You're trying to make sure that your card advantage stays ahead. The moment you start falling behind is the moment you're in trouble. You're playing a card that's better than Pot of Greed. You should be, if you resolve this twice in a turn, you should be far and ahead. You should not be losing the game if you resolve this twice in a turn. especially in the mid game, if you resolve this on turn 2 or turn 3, and you go engage, add off Kagari, and then engage again, and basically go +2 or +3. Really, you should not be losing that
I
game.
like that. I didn't see that part.
So that's about it. Like I said, I think the deck's really strong this format. But we'll see how it fares at bigger events.
Alrighty, well, congratulations on topping, and good luck on your next matches, my guy.
Thank you very much.
Alrighty.